A woman accidentally went to heaven. However, the director of the heaven office told her that she could live to 80. The woman was stunned. Isn't this nonsense? But before she could react, she was sent back to the human world. As a result, when she woke up, the silk pajamas she was originally wearing had directly turned into cheap market goods. Looking at her dry, yellow, and split hair, the woman couldn't hold back. However, her scream attracted a man to come in. She was clearly single, so how could there be a man in her house? Could he be a weirdo? The more she thought about it, the more scared she became, and she hurriedly tried to call the police. However, upon hearing this, the man laughed out loud.
아, 속옷도 당신이지. 이것도 내 거지. 내 거지 이거.
The woman was completely bewildered. She quickly put on her clothes and walked out, only to see a little girl eating breakfast. The woman hurriedly asked her, "Who are you?" The little girl looked disdainful. "Big shot. Did you forget to take your medicine this morning?" At this moment, a little boy opened his arms, shouting for his mom to hug him, and the woman scaredly stepped back. But before she could recover, the strange man shouted again, telling her to quickly bring over the breakfast. The woman was even more confused. "Are you sure I am your wife? Don't think you can just claim a wife because you're handsome." The man thought she had watched too many Korean dramas again and was acting out a plot, not knowing that the woman was not his wife at all. It turned out that the woman was named Yeon-woo, a top lawyer, living in a mansion and driving luxury cars every day. A true life winner, because she firmly believed that men are all harmful and no good for women. She remains single to this day, not knowing what men are about. She specialized in handling cases for chaebol, with no justice to speak of. The chaebol boss was very satisfied with this, directly giving her a car and a lifetime unlimited black card. However, because a temporary worker at the heaven office filled in the wrong information, they mistakenly summoned Yeon-woo, who was originally supposed to live to 80, and the man's wife, Cuihua, who was supposed to die a month later, was sent for reincarnation. Yeon-woo was furious. "Can't you do your jobs properly? Do you know how much money is on this black card I just got?" The judge signaled her to calm down, saying that as long as she was willing to live as Cuihua for a month, they could send her back to live to 80. But he didn't tell Yeon-woo that Cuihua was not only married, but also the mother of 2 children. How could Yeon-woo stand such an insult? She was a dignified lawyer, driving luxury cars and living in a mansion, a perfect white rich beautiful. Now, not only had she become a kimchi aunt, but she also gained 2 mischievous children. The only thing worth being grateful for is that this husband looks a bit like Seung-heon song. Soon, she broke down again after learning from several village women that she had gotten pregnant at 18 before marriage. This made the proud Yeon-woo feel nauseated, and she covered her mouth and ran outside. Seeing this, the women immediately started talking. At night, Yeon-woo was about to enter her room to rest, but as soon as she stepped in, her husband smiled and asked her if the child was asleep. He assumed the child was asleep, and immediately began to take off his pants. Yeon-woo was completely stunned and asked what he thought he was doing. Her husband said that since the child was asleep, it was time to take care of some proper business.
안 잘걸요?
네가 방금 잔다며. 장난치지 마.
As he tried to pull her onto the bed, Yeon-woo firmly resisted and almost twisted his arm out of its socket. This made her husband furious. He thought fulfilling his intimate duties on time was being held against him. Yeon-woo was enraged, calling him a scumbag who still tried to seduce her after having tricked her into getting pregnant at 18 before marriage, only to make her live in such a run-down house.
쓸데없이 왜 이렇게 잘생겼는데? 나는 기생오라비같이 생긴 남자가 세상에서 제일 싫어!
After saying that, she directly took her blanket and spent the night in the living room. Her husband was utterly confused and couldn't figure out what act his wife was putting on. The next day, he told his colleague about the situation. His colleague suggested he try presenting a divorce agreement if she accepted it without hesitation. It would mean she was seeing someone else. When her husband returned home, he told her she had indeed suffered a lot, but some things needed to be clarified.
당신이 나 먼저 꼬셨잖아. 당신이 죽자 살자나 쫓아다녔잖아. 그 눈썹 진한 모델하고 닮아줬다가 그 난리를 쳐놓고 이제 와서 뭐? 미성년자? 어?
Finally, he mustered his courage and took out the divorce papers.
당신이 정 그렇게 구질구질하게 사는 게 싫으면은
He had only meant to scare her, but things didn't go as planned. This was awkward. Could he really have been cheated on? The next day, Yeon-woo looked at the closet full of cheap clothes and decided to change her way of living. She went to the luxurious mansion from her previous life. found the unlimited black card, and headed straight to the mall. Without blinking an eye, she spent several million. The clerk, looking at the super VIP card in her hand, thought the woman was a fraud. However, the signature and card swipe went through without issue. Over 3 million was actually paid. That night when she returned home, her husband became uneasy and asked what she meant by buying such expensive clothes.
내 돈으로 샀어요. 내 돈으로. 내가 옷 샀는데 그쪽이 돈 보태줬어요?
Remembering what his colleague had said during the day.
덥석 바다 물면은 딴 남자 생긴 거라고. 내 전마누라도 그랬어.
And her snatching the divorce papers that morning, the husband suddenly understood. It seemed he had been cheated on, but before he could explode, the police showed up at their door first. In the end, both were taken to the police station, accused of stealing someone else's money. Although Yeon-woo insisted the card was hers, the police didn't believe her, because the card owner was named Yeon-woo, a famous top-tier lawyer, 39 years old, single, and currently lying in a hospital unconscious due to a car accident. But you are Cuihua, a mother of two, a kimchi lady without even a job. Cuihua was fuming, but she couldn't explain the deal with the heaven office, so she lied that she was friends with Yeon-woo and that Yeon-woo had given her the card. The police responded with sarcasm again. Hearing this, her husband became upset. How could they accuse his wife of being a thief? Yeon-woo not only knew them but was also his senior from college, since he also graduated from Seoul Law School. Upon checking, it turned out they were indeed alumni, except the man had dropped out after just 2 years. Considering the man's status as a civil servant, the police could only apologize to his wife. After leaving the police station, this seemingly weak husband also turned out to be a top student. If only he had managed to graduate, he wouldn't have ended up in such a sorry state. In a daze, she accidentally bumped into the man, and he suddenly asked her, "Are you seeing someone else?"
딴 남자 생긴 거 아니지?
남자? 나 진짜.
Yeon-woo said, "Even if I were completely blind, I'd still know you're more handsome than anyone else." Hearing this, the husband thought it made sense, and the weight in his heart finally lifted. As long as he wasn't being cheated on, everything was fine. As for the card, he told her to consider it as if she had found it. Then, he reached out and patted Yeon-woo's head. Unexpectedly, that very gesture struck a chord in Yeon-woo's parched heart. Just then, the heaven judge appeared. "What's wrong with you? It hasn't even been a few days. First talking about divorce, now getting involved with the police. If you don't want to be sent back for reincarnation, hurry and mend your relationship with your husband. Otherwise, we'll have to replace you. There are plenty of people above who want this job." After returning home, Yeon-woo offered to return the clothes, but her husband stopped her, saying, "Keep them on. I don't want to hear anyone call my woman shabby again."
아 그냥 입으라면 입어. 아 나도 내 여자가 어디 가서 누구한테 취하다는 얘기 듣기 싫다고.
내 여자?
아 그럼 내 여자지 뭐. 아 당신 남의 여자야?
Their daughter rolled her eyes so hard they nearly got stuck being force-fed affection in the middle of the night. It so happened that her husband's workplace had a weekend banquet coming up, requiring both spouses to attend. Remembering the heaven judge's earlier warning,
누군가의 관계부터 회복하세요.
and wanting to repair their relationship, Yeon-woo immediately agreed. The next day, she arrived at the venue in her gown and instantly became the center of attention. Her husband stared with such intensity it felt like his eyes were glued to her.
별로인가요?
좋은데? 이뻐요.
지금 말 더듬은 거예요?
아 너무 이뻐. 너무 이뻐서 그래. 너무. 앉아. 빨리 들어와. 가자.
As soon as they sat down, she noticed his supervisor criticizing him. Yeon-woo couldn't sit still and confronted the supervisor directly. Needless to say, the dinner was effectively over. Her husband quickly pulled Yeon-woo outside, blaming her for being so impulsive. He's a department head. If we offend him, how can I keep working there? Yeon-woo was furious. I was standing up for you, and now you're blaming me. Right then, the supervisor walked over, not wanting trouble. Her husband turned to leave, but the supervisor threw an insult at Yeon-woo.
놈이나 년이나 경우 없이 대바라진 건 똑같네. 응? 노려보면 어쩔 건데. 네 입이나 방음해.
Her husband stepped forward and threw a punch, knocking the supervisor to the ground. "You can bully me, but humiliating my wife? No!" Yeon-woo was completely stunned. "I thought you said we had to endure it for the sake of your job."
아 집 마누라한테 연이라는데 참을 놈이 어딨냐? 참는 놈이 또라이지.
직장 잘리고 그지 되면
그럼 뭐 당신하고 같이 폐지나 주면서 오순도순 사는 거지. 걱정하지 마. 어? 당신과 하늘의 하루 내 절대로 안 굶길 테니까.
She learned that back then, it was because Cuihua was pregnant that her husband had dropped out early from Seoul Law School. Even though his current job was unsatisfying, he had no regrets. Even if it cost him his life, he would protect her and their 2 children. Hearing this, Yeon-woo was touched, remembering how her son, thinking she was going through menopause, had spent all his pocket money to buy her medicine and lied saying it was vitamins. Yeon-woo was completely moved. Even though this was only a 1-month substitute life, meeting a family like this, if she didn't cherish it, she would regret it for a lifetime. So the next day, she worked hard to be a proper wife. The only headache was her daughter, being in her rebellious phase and with little communication between them. Aside from asking for money, they barely spoke, so she deliberately asked her daughter to fold shopping bags, making her experience the hardships of life. That day, as soon as her daughter returned home, she hid in her room. Sensing something was off with her daughter, she quickly followed her inside. She learned that her daughter had nearly been assaulted by a rich second-generation kid. Never did she expect that something she had done in her past life would now happen with roles reversed.
이 엄마가 다 알아서 할 테니까 넌 아무 걱정 말고 푹 자.
Furious, she took her daughter to the school to demand an explanation, listening to the other side's lawyer twisting the truth. Yeon-woo finally understood how much it must have hurt the victim's family back when she had helped the rich kid distort right and wrong. Even though she knew it wasn't her biological daughter, her heart ached so much she hid in the restroom. Her sensible daughter, not wanting to put her mother in a difficult position, urged her to let the matter drop.
난 괜찮으니까 그냥 우리 집 돈도 없고 대출도 많은데 빨리 합의하고 집에 가자.
돈도 없고 대출도 많으면 참아야 된다고. 누가 그래?
엄마.
가자.
Returning to the negotiation table, after the opposing lawyer finished speaking arrogantly, she presented a recording she had secretly started earlier. As someone who had been through it, she knew all too well the arrogance and weak spots of people like them. If they didn't agree to her terms, she was willing to risk losing everything to make sure they were publicly disgraced.
모든 사람들이 널 강간 미수범으로 알아보도록 해줄게. 이 아줌마가 절대로 사람들한테 잊혀지지 않도록 해줄 테니까 기대하라고.
The negligent principal was just about to say something.
교육부로 전화합니다. 지금부터 한마디만 더 하시면.
Right then, the beast couldn't resist hurling an insult at her daughter.
집안까지 따라 들어온 년도 잘한 거 없잖아.
너 지금 우리 딸한테 년이라고 했니?
In the end, the beast transferred schools, and proper compensation and apologies were given. Her mother's actions surprised her daughter. To be honest, lately I kept feeling you weren't like my real mom, but seeing you today, there's no mistake. Her daughter looped her arm through her mother's. Just as the daughter was basking in maternal love, her husband received a notification of his transfer out of Seoul. Thinking it was retaliation from his supervisor, Yeon-woo investigated and found out that the department head had accepted bribes from a chaebol. Attempting to expedite the acquisition of this residential area, a scheme her former self had also been involved in. Armed with this leverage, she confronted the department head. Upon hearing his bribery scandal would be exposed, the terrified department head fled in panic. Just like that, her husband's transfer was cancelled. Her daughter began to become well-behaved and sensible, and Yeon-woo started to truly integrate into this family. Learning how to interact with the children, she managed all the trivial household affairs in an orderly manner. She thoroughly enjoyed the feeling of playing and roughhousing with the kids, a sense of family she had never experienced before. She even started not wanting to be revived, wishing she could stay here forever, but she seemed to have forgotten that everything she now possessed belonged to someone else. The heaven judge appeared once more, informing Yeon-woo that very little time was left for her.
저 혹시 저 어떻게 죽게 되는 건가요?
교통사고입니다.
그럼 저 착한 애들이 일주일 후에 갑자기 사랑하는 엄마를 사고로 잃게 되는 거잖아요. 그거 애들한테 너무 가혹한 거 아니에요?
저 아이들의 아픔을 줄여주고 싶어요.
네, 가능하다면 당연히.
그렇다면 남은 시간 동안 최대한 있는 힘을 다해 많이 사랑해주세요.
The 1-month period passed in the blink of an eye, but then her son suddenly collapsed on the street. It turned out that the Heaven office, in order to correct its mistake, had interfered with his fate line, which unfortunately led to the son contracting an illness.
잘 될 거야. 우리 하루는 강하니까. 엄만 할아버지가 정말 너무너무 미웠어. 할머니랑 어린 엄마만 두고 그렇게 훌쩍 떠나버린 게 너무너무 미운 거야.
With the 1-month deadline arrived, the judge demanded she leave immediately, but Yeon-woo's heart was now tied here. She could no longer let go of her current family.
할 수만 있다면 제발 그렇게 하고 싶어요.
당신만 없어지면 하루 병이 다 낫는다고.
She begged the judge, willing to give up everything from her past life, just for a chance to say a final goodbye to her family.
제발요, 제발.
In the end, the judge softened.
시간을 많이 들이지 못합니다. 가세요.
After rushing to the hospital, Yeon-woo bid her family farewell with immense reluctance. She realized she had deeply fallen in love with the man before her, the one who had given up his future for his family.
미안해요. 많은 짐을 주고 가서.
왜 그래? 어디 멀리 떠날 사람처럼?
하늘 아파. 우리 하늘이랑 하루.
Not to mention he is so handsome. Soon, Yeon-woo returned to her original body. After waking up, she hurried to the hospital where her son was, only to find that the whole family was not there. Then she immediately rushed to the place where the family lived. But the one who opened the door was another family. Everything felt like a dream. She seemed to have her soul hollowed out, walking alone on the familiar streets. But now everything had changed. Thinking of the good sister who had helped her before, she handed over the evidence of the Chabel's low-price land acquisition to her colleague. Then she sold the mansion, planning to leave this heartbroken place. While packing her luggage, she accidentally discovered a photo left by her mother. After opening the photo, Yeon-woo could no longer control her tears. There was no operational error. It turned out the judge was her own father. Her father had never forgotten her and had been silently watching over her from heaven. Her father used an exchange of lives to teach her what love is.
내 목숨보다 소중한 우리 딸. 사랑해.
아빠, 보고 있어요?
She placed the family photo next to her mother's memorial tablet. On the plane, a familiar voice called out to her.
아줌마는 제 옆자리예요.
하루야,
내 이름은 어떻게 알아요?
너가 어떻게 여기?
야, 이 꼬맹아!
Although the family's memories did not include her, she believed that with the bond between them, the family would definitely live together again.